All right, so we have imported our file. We have placed it on the face that we want to print it from, and then we have created brim. So at this point, we want to look at our object, and if I go to preview, I can see the brim. I can close out these tips. I can hide that. And so if I look at my model here, I can see some overhangs. I see that this is going to be trying to print plastic in the middle of onto nothing, into thin air, and so that's going to fail this print. This side also, and then if I look up underneath, I can see that this whole middle part is a really big gap. Now, generally small gaps of 1 or 2 millimeters or something like that. It's something small can usually be bridged by the 3D printer and the slicer program without any supports. However, this is going to be too big. I think that this part up here, where you can see that this circle cuts into the roof, generally an arch like that can print with no supports, but the roof itself is probably, the ceiling inside this house is probably going to need some supports. So if I click over here, I see that there's supports, and it gives me some options. I'm probably going to want to enable supports. And then if I click out of preview and then come back, I can see that it's doing auto supports. However, when I look at this, I don't really like the options that it's giving. It's printing a ton of stuff here. And if I bring down my layers, I can just see just how much is in there. So that's still part of the roof that is solid. And we'll come back to the infill there. But it has lots of supports here. And this might be hard to get out. And so it might be good for me to go down to manual supports. And I can see that I have two different types. I have normal and then tree. So starting with normal, I go here, and I can see that there are no supports available. Not available, but there are no supports being printed. So even though I went to manual, it's not giving me any options to create any. So what I have to do is I have to go back to prepare. I click on my model, I see all of these tools up here, and then right here it says support painting. So now it's going to give me a bunch of different options. I can use a circle, I can do a sphere, which would be 3 dimensions. I can have fill and then gap fill. You can mess around with these different things. I'm going to say on overhangs only, and then I can change my pen size, which when it comes to actually painting it on, that's how big it is. So if I make this bigger, then my pen is bigger. Making it smaller obviously gives you more control. Highlight overhang areas, so I can say generally anything that is 45 degrees or more is not going to print without supports, and so I can move this up to 45, and then it tells me what is a 45 degree angle. So if I rotate this, I can see that this right here is more than 45 degrees. It's 90 degrees, and that will not print unless I use supports. That will fail. And so maybe I'll make my pen just a little bit bigger, and then maybe I'll just kind of do the outside of this, a little bit away from the wall. And again, that'll be a little bit of a gap that the printer should be able to span with no problem. On the inside here, I don't know that I need to do that, that little arch up here, but I'm going to do some supports here. I'm definitely going to do supports around this part where it kind of changes on the inside with nothing around it. And then maybe I'll do some lines like this. You can do the whole thing, but the more supports you have, the more supports you have to take off. And generally that can be a pain and then kind of mess up your print. So maybe I'll do something like that. And then out here, I might do this here. I mean, I need to do that. So now if I go back to preview, I painted on my supports, and I'm still on normal manual. Let's do tree, let's go back to manual. And then if I click off of preview and then come back, it's going to show me what it has done. And if I bring down my layer, I can see inside my house, and I can see that it is printing all of this as supports. It's still kind of a lot, and perhaps more than what I need. It's right up there close to the walls, and so that might make it a little bit of a challenge to get the supports off without breaking my house. And so at this point, maybe what I'll do is let's try the tree. And this is kind of an experimental thing. The normal manual is a little bit more reliable. But the tree gives you a little bit of a different support option where it tries to print it kind of away from your object. It builds up this tree that spreads out. It gets smaller up near the top. The idea is for it to be easy to break away without messing up your model and making it easy to get off. I've had different levels of success with this, but it's kind of a nice idea, and you can experiment with that. You'll see over here that there's also support raft base. If you're having a hard time getting your model to adhere to the bed, you can turn that on. And again, that kind of puts a flat layer on the bed, and then it prints from that just in case you have kind of an uneven bottom to your model.